Welcome everyone to another episode of Slasher Scotty. I am your host Scotty McCoy, and I have an alumni from Child's Play 2 on the phone. She played Kyle. Please welcome Christine Elise. Hi Christine, how you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to have this interview. So the first question I actually have isn't related to Child's Play, but it's how did you get your start into acting?
I grew up in Boston, and I was always interested in old Hollywood movies, the old black and whites and Humphrey Bogart, and sort of the film noir genre of old movies. And I collected Pulp Fiction paperbacks from the 30s to the 60s, and so that sort of gumshoe thing was my, favorite thing, whether it was literary or in the movies or whatever. So when Blade Runner came out, I was like, wow, this is a really interesting reinvention of the film noir genre. I think that's what I want to do with my life. I think I want to be a director and sort of bring film noir back to the prominence it once had in its heyday in the 40s and 50s. And so I decided to go to film school. I went to film school at Boston University for a year, and then decided it didn't make sense to finish film school in a town that didn't have a film industry. So I thought I'd move to California and live in California for a year and establish California residency, and then go to a state school at UCLA or USC, which at the time in '84, there were state schools were like $600 a semester, which was very inexpensive.
Yeah.
And there were more prestigious film schools, and I could do internships and like learn my way around town and like get a bunch of balls in the air at one time that way. So I moved to LA at 19, didn't know anybody, moved here by myself, and got a job on Rodeo Drive as a cashier, making $6 an hour to pay my bills. And 2.5 years later, I was still doing that. I couldn't afford. I was working like 60 hours a week, and I couldn't afford time off of work to go to film school, even if film school had been free. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to end up in a life of retail, which I loathed, and so not what I wanted to be doing with my life. I'm like, how can I? I need to get somehow into film school, but I had to work too. So I took some night classes at Los Angeles City College. But at that rate, I was like 16 years later, I'd have a degree. This is going to take too long. I can't do that either. And like, what else can I do to keep feeling like I'm moving in the right direction while still having my job? So if I'm going to be a director, I'm going to direct actors. I should know what actors do. How are you going to direct somebody if you don't even know what their job really entails? So I took some acting classes, or an acting class at night, just from a director's perspective, and then really liked it more than I thought I would. I'm not a performing type. I'm super shy. I still have horrible stage fright. So performing for people is something that would never have crossed my mind to do with my life. Right. But I liked it, and so I thought, hey, there are tons of actors out there that can't act, that make a living. I don't know why I can't be one of them. And so I decided to try to be an actor. And I looked super young. I was in my 20s at that point, but I looked very, very 15. I had a baby face. And I got an agent pretty quickly and started working and playing high school kids for the next decade.
Nice. So what about your audition for Child's Play 2? What was that like?
I mean, all auditions are pretty much the same. They're terrifying.
Right.
There's a bunch of people in the room, the writer, the director, the producers, casting director, and their assistant. And, you get a couple pages of dialogue to read, and you do it,
Right.
I guess I didn't get the job the first time around, and they were like, well, we liked her, but we didn't think it the first time around that she was the right one. Let's bring the people that were the near misses back again and see how they go.
Right.
And so I got to go back, and at the time I had just done an episode of 21 Jump Street, and I was on the day of the audition was currently shooting an episode of Baywatch.
Right.
So I was feeling pretty cocky as a new actor because I had been working a lot. It was new. I was new, and I was having some luck. And I was like, and I had to be on set at Baywatch at 11 o'clock in the morning. So they had this 9:30 audition. And I think I had a different attitude when I went in the second time because I was feeling more confident, and I didn't have the nerves that I have very often in auditions. And I think I had a little bit of hurry up, let's get this done, I have somewhere to be attitude, which was better suited to who Kyle was.
Right.
And so recently I asked Don Mancini, I go, hey, to whom do I owe, thanks for having cast me? Whose decision was it to cast me finally?
Right.
And he said, the second time around, it was unanimous. Everybody thought it was you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So we know that Brad Dourif provided the voiceover of Chucky. So was his voice added during post-production? And if so, what was it like working with a doll that had no dialogue during filming?
I worked with Brad Dourif before we started filming, and I was already a huge Brad Dourif fan, so I was completely starstruck by him. He's a tremendous. So I rehearsed with him so he would see how I was going to do my dialogue so that he could go in the studio and record his, having some sense of how I was going to play my side of it, you know?
Right.
So then when we're on set, they play back his voice. Chucky does have a voice.
Okay.
Chucky has to have a voice so they know how to make his mouth move to the dialogue.
Right.
That's part of what the puppeteers are doing, is trying to get his mouth to move. Sometimes they will play back Brad's voice at half speed.
Okay.
So the doll has more time to get the mouth moving correctly.
Okay.
You know, and they just speed it up in post. But that you do hear his voice on set.
Okay, that's awesome, because I do know like in certain things I can't remember which one off the top of my which show it was off the top of my head, but like it might be like when it could be like either a green screen or something when they're not really there and you're acting with nothing. You know what I mean? And that's what
I do, and I was acting with nothing a great deal because I was over 18, so I'm working as an adult. And Alex Vincent was 7 or 8 at the time, and so he had child labor laws that applied to him. So we would shoot his stuff first to get him in and out. Like we shoot the establishing shot, the big wide shot of a scene that sort of gives the audience the geography of what's going on. So that when you move in for close-ups, people already know where you are in the room. You know, they've already seen the bigger picture. So now you go into close-ups and stuff. So we do the establishing shot with Alex, and then they would shoot Alex out and send him home, and then they'd shoot the doll, because the doll had like 9 puppeteers to run. The doll was more expensive than I was to have on set, as far as overtime and that kind of thing.
Right.
So they would shoot the doll out, and also the doll takes the longest. The doll, he's the most problematic, actor on set, because it's such a technical, nightmare to get 9 different guys to get all the things happening synced so it looks real,
Right.
So then they would shoot Chucky out, and then they go home. And I would be on set with a C-stand, which are those metal stands. They have lights and flags and stuff on. There would be a blue X for Alex and a red X for Chucky, and then a fucking audio recording of Brad's voice. So Brad's not there, Alex isn't there, the puppet's not there, and I'm acting with my eye lines going to things, and there's nothing there. So it's virtually the same as working with green screen. And I was alone. If you don't see other people in the frame with me when I'm doing something, they probably weren't on set when I was doing it.
Wow. That's crazy. So
quickly, I learned to stick really close to Alex. So it was difficult to frame him. It was difficult to shoot me without him, because I was so close to him all the time that he'd be in frame. So unless they were super tight on my face, Alex would naturally be in frame. So I learned to cling really close to Alex to keep my time of working alone to a minimum. But
nice. So what was the best part about filming Child's Play 2, and what was the worst?
The worst was working with nobody there.
Right.
That's just technically hard. I was not a very particularly experienced actress, and so that was challenging. The best part was I got the job. There's no downside to any job, and that was super early in my life, and it was really a big job, and everybody on it was great. It's a job that continues to pay dividends to me, literally, financially, because I got to go back for Cult of Chucky.
Yep.
But also Alex Vincent and I, he's like my real little brother. He's family to me. Don Mancini is family to me. John LaFia, who unfortunately passed away this year, the director of Child's Play 2 and the co-writer of first Child's Play, we connected with him, had him over for a couple dinner parties in the past year or two, and I've known Jennifer Tilly. I knew Jennifer Tilly from before I got Child's Play.
Oh, okay.
So she's sort of in my life socially outside of the franchise even.
Right.
So it's a project that was really exciting to do. We shot it on the Universal lot, half of it anyway, on the Universal lot, which is where the Universal monsters were born, the original Frankenstein, and the original horror Dracula, Bride of Frankenstein, those guys.
Yeah.
And that's a huge legend, and a huge part of what inspired me to even end up as an actor was those sort of movies and those old movie lots. So that was super exciting.
Right, and it's amazing because I'm sure when you were filming Child's Play 2 and even upon its release, you didn't expect this to be as big as it actually became, which is really surreal.
You're exactly right. And Child's Play 3, Alex and I were both bitter that they had, moved on and didn't have us in 3.
Right.
So we were sad to sort of be fired from the franchise. And I think Child's Play 3 is widely considered to be the weakest of the bunch. Although I watched it recently and I think it holds up pretty well. But I think the fans kind of think it's the weakest of the franchise. Right. And so it seemed like, well, they don't like us anymore, and that one wasn't very good. And but Don is such a genius and was able to bring it back with Bride of Chucky, and that's hilarious, and bringing in that sort of bumping up the comedy. Yep. And then clever enough to bring it back down to horror again. He's been really flexible with the tone of the films, and I think that's part of why it's been able, and the fact that it's always been Don Mancini's voice. Right. Nobody else has ever written one, and he's directing them now too. So the voice stays pure, and the character stories all stay real. Right. There's no Chucky installment in the franchise where Andy Vincent doesn't exist. Andy Barclay doesn't exist. Right. Where other franchises may totally throw away what's already happened and start afresh with new people, and the old storylines aren't honored anymore.
Look at Halloween.
It's to have Alex come back and for me to come back and play characters at 30 years older. Right. Alex was 6 when he started doing this, and now he's like 38. Right. And still playing Andy Barclay. I don't think there's many actors that can say they've had that opportunity.
Exactly. I mean, look at Halloween. That has 6 different time frames in one franchise. It's crazy. But yeah, Child's Play has always been true to its original. Even when they did the Bride of Chucky, and they end up inserting Jennifer Tilly's character Tiffany, and then they end up doing Seed of Chucky, but it's still stuck with the main thing with Tiffany being there, and then it still worked with Jennifer Tilly being Tiffany, but also acting as herself as an actress. It just worked. It just really did. It's one of my favorite franchises. I absolutely love it, and I'm not going to lie. Chucky scared me so much as a kid. I couldn't even go into Spencer's without seeing that doll without freaking out.
That's so funny. For me, he's like a family member to me. I have nothing but fondness for him. I can't imagine being afraid of him. But that's his job. So you're supposed to scare yourself.
It's funny because it's karma. Because when I was younger, and my little cousin, her name is Destiny. She was probably, I would say, 5 or 6, and she's right now, she's about 21 or so, and I'm gonna be 31 this year, so I'm about 10 years older than her. So but yeah, she was about 5 or 6, and I sat her down and I forced her to watch Chucky, and I told her it's just like Toy Story. And right? So she ended up watching it, and guess what? It backfired, and I got scared of it.
That's so funny. See? Karma's a bitch.
It really is. So yeah, it was interesting. A little interesting thing in my hand, Candy's like, "What are you doing to her? You're showing her this."
So many people have done that. There are so many people. When I go to conventions, I hear that story a lot about my older brother or my older sister was torturing me with Chucky when I was a kid. I actually get people send me videos of them trying to terrify people with Chucky. Right. I'm sure you've seen those people at bus stops and somebody jumps through the poster and it's size check. I don't enjoy those at all. I think they're super mean. I think that's really, really mean. And I always think someone's gonna get hurt. They're gonna scare the shit out of someone, and they're gonna run out of a bus.
Exactly.
I don't like seeing Chucky used for that purpose.
So, God rest his soul, John Lafia. How was he as a director?
He was amazing. He was a super sensitive guy. I think he's unusually so. The kind of guy that this town can really chew up, just really sensitive and really sweet, lovely, super creative. Right. Man.
Yeah,
so he was great.
It's sad that he passed away. When I saw the news, I'm like, oh my God, is he the guy from Child's Play? And I looked it up, I'm like, it is, no.
Yeah.
I was so sad to hear that. And I mean, we're losing a lot of celebrities this year alone, and just seeing John Lafia as one of them, and and then we had Steve Dash in the past, the past couple of years has been rough. It's been sad.
And Sid Haig.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sid Haig. Yeah, and I actually had an interview scheduled with Sid Haig, and then he passed away not long before. I know he was trying to take it easy because of medical reasons, but then he got into Rob Zombie's 31, and he wanted to help promote that. So I had an interview set up with him, and then he passed away. And not maybe not long after that, I know his role was even minimized in that movie because of his medical condition.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's sad. So couple here's like a two-part question. So first of all, what was it like working with Alex Vincent, and was it a struggle or a challenge working with a child actor?
Alex is lovely. Was a total pro. It was not his first rodeo, so to
Right.
speak. He had done the first one. He was
Yeah.
very seasoned. He was and remains a wildly intelligent person. And that he brought that intelligence to his ability to act. And he was delightful. He felt like my little brother then. He still feels like my little brother. And so he was easy to work with.
Awesome.
I didn't see him for the years between Child's Play 2, and then I saw him. I hooked up with him again at a horror convention maybe 7, 8 years ago, somewhere in there. And it was like no time had passed, but now instead of being 7, he's an adult, But
Right.
he told me then that his memories of me was that I was the kindest person on set to him.
Aw,
He has
that's
the fondest memories of me, and I was happy to hear that.
That's awesome. I always get a kick out of his one scene in the first movie. I always laugh at it when he's making breakfast in bed for his mom, and the toast is burnt. He's putting like a crap load of sugar in the cereal, and he puts a big clunk of butter on the toast. I'm like laughing my butt off every time I see that. I'm like, that's what I would do as a kid. That's what kids do.
Yeah,
And it's just, it's so cute. Like, it's really a cute scene. Like, it really adds to his character's dimension. It really does.
Yeah.
So what was it also like working with Brad Dourif?
Well, I already kind of addressed that. I was
Yeah.
super starstruck. He's an intimidating guy, just because he doesn't suffer fools, and
Right.
his energy is just sort of intense, and the characters he plays are
Yeah.
always really intense. So, I think that's partly because it's just who he is, and he just
Right.
has that intensity about him. But
Yeah.
I mean, I met him for like an hour. Now I know him.
Right.
Now it's different because when Cult of Chucky was being promoted, we all went to New York, me and Don, and Fiona and Brad and Jennifer, and the studio put us all in the same hotel, and the hotel we had a per diem, which is money they give you to spend when you're out of town, so you're not spending your own money because they've traveled you.
Right.
And they gave us like whatever $200 a day to spend at this hotel, and but the caveat was, or the catch was, mostly when they give you per diem, they just give you the money and you can do whatever you want with it. You can not spend it at all and put it in the bank, or you can go buy a necklace. It's your money to spend as you will. But in this case, the money wouldn't roll over. So if you didn't spend your Monday money, you didn't spend your Monday $200, you didn't get $400 on Tuesday. You know, if you didn't spend it on Monday, you didn't get to have it.
Okay.
And you had to spend it at that hotel.
Okay.
Which was weird. So it leashed us all like pets to this hotel. But that ended up having an amazing silver lining for me, and I hope the rest of them felt this way too. We were all hell bent on spending the $200, right? Like, I'm not going to let that money go back to the studio. I want to spend that money. It's mine. I'm going to spend it.
Right.
And we all had to spend it. So we ended up all having dinner together every night.
Nice.
Because we're all eating at the hotel, and so we had these big family-style dinners every night while we were there. And I got to know Brad pretty well, and I got to know his wife, and I got to know his stepdaughter, Fiona's sister, and so I got to actually feel like I could walk up to him and say hi, you know who I am,
Right.
Where before I didn't feel that way.
Right. So what was your most memorable moment while filming Child's Play 2?
There's none. There's no single moment that stands out. I was so flabbergasted that I had the job. I was so over the top excited. I would stay. They'd wrap me sometimes, and I could go home, and I wouldn't go home. I just hang around and watch everybody shoot, and hang out with the people that are there. The hairdresser on that show remains a good friend of mine too. Like, it's unusual that you keep people from jobs. If people think, all actors are best friends, if you work with them, then you're going to have them in your life forever. But that's very seldom the case. For a lot of reasons, you're thrown together. In a lot of cases, all you have in common is that project.
Right.
But in real life, you don't have anything overlapping interests. And also the fact that an actor's life is itinerant, and you're moving all around and going different places, and so keeping up with people, even your own friends and family is difficult sometimes, let alone adding in new people to the mix. So, but Scott Williams, who was the hairdresser on that, is still a close friend. So it was just a great. It's just been fantastic. I mean, it's still a gift in my life to this day.
So I'm gonna throw in a bonus question that I just thought of actually. So when you did the scene in the factory, where like the toy factory, now was that a real factory? Was that all CGI and post production based, or how was that done?
There's no CGI in any Chucky's. There's only,
Okay.
I think the only CGI Chucky has ever been, I think, is in Curse, and they have Chucky going down the stairs in Curse. I think that was a CGI moment.
Okay.
Nothing else is. Chucky's a practical. He's practical special effect, not a CGI one.
Okay.
And the factory was not a factory, but it was a set. It
Oh,
was
okay.
built. It existed.
Nice.
But it was they can't green screen in a factory. That would cost more than just building a set.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, it was 1989, so.
Yeah, that's true. It's a good point. So you recently came back, obviously, for the post-credit scene as the same character of Kyle in Cult of Chucky. So how did that come about to happen, and do you have any plans on appearing in a future film of Child's Play?
It came about because initially Dawn asked me if I wanted to play a different character in Curse. And I said yes, and the character I think would have been Fiona's mom, who dies very quickly at the top of Curse. But ultimately, they shoot these things in Canada, and Canada has laws about how many Canadians you have to have on the set, and how many Americans are allowed to be in a project.
Okay.
And they, because Fiona and Brad and a lot of the people that it has to be in the movie are American. They're Canadian. Their American content was maxed out, so I couldn't see. But he knew at that point that I wanted to come back, and so when it was time, and then he had that great post-credits cameo with Alex at the end of Curse, and I think that he always had in mind to have me come back at the end of. Actually, there was a much bigger scene that I'm not supposed to talk about. That didn't happen, a big, spectacular special effects thing with me and Chucky and Tiffany that ultimately was too expensive to do. And I'm frankly glad because I like what I ended up having to do better. I like what happened better. So, and I would love to be involved with it. I mean, I'm hoping, fingers crossed, they invite me to be part of the sci-fi Chucky TV series.
Yep, that was actually my next question. I don't know if you signed anything or if you have any NDA clauses, but I was wondering if you're going to be appearing in it.
I'm wondering the same thing. My fingers are crossed. All 10 of my fingers are crossed that they'll invite me. These things don't happen. I won't know. Like when I did Beverly Hills, the BH 90210 reboot last summer, they didn't make me an offer to do it. I talked to them about doing it in February, but they never offered me a part until June, and I like a week later I was on a plane and went to Canada and shot it, and into August I was done. Like man, it was so fast,
Right.
So if I were to be involved with Chucky, I won't know until it's almost time to go there and do it.
Yeah, and it would be great because I mean you wouldn't think you would need to audition. I mean you're obviously Kyle, you know what I mean?
No, I don't
audition. So I mean, and they're bringing Brad back. We know that. So I mean, I think it would be great. I'm not sure. Are they bringing Alex Vincent back? Do you know?
I don't know. I'm hoping so. He
and
and I are both in the same boat going, please call me, please call me, please call me.
It would be great just to see everybody like, from the Child's Play, Child's Play franchise coming back. Even like, Andy Barclay's mother coming back. That would be really cool. Like to see that. I don't know if it'll happen, but that would be awesome. I think it would be bittersweet. Like to see, like a reunion of Child's Play in this TV series.
Well, they got like 8 episodes, so they got a lot of room to play. So I don't know. That's the most exciting thing about it for me is that Dawn has told 7 feature-length films, which is 15 hours maybe of 16 hours of Chucky's story. Yeah. And over the course of 30 years, now he gets to tell 8 hours of Chucky's story in 2 months.
Yeah.
So that's really exciting, and
it really
a lot
is.
of room for incredible progress in the story.
I completely agree, and I'm really excited to see what this series is going to do. I think them announcing Brad Dourif coming back as the voice of Chucky, that's right there is the icing on the cake. You know what I mean? Like that's like we now got our Chucky. Now who else from the film franchise is going to be returning? And I'm really hoping you're one of them, and I'm hoping obviously I think Jennifer might have been announced, and I'm hoping Alex comes back as well.
No, she has not been announced.
She hasn't? All right. Yeah, so I would love to see, all of you guys come back. It would be amazing.
I agree.
Yes. So the last question I got for you is, do you have any future projects or gigs that you want to tell the listeners about, and also any social media accounts or websites that you would like to promote?
I don't have nothing coming up because it's Los Angeles and we're still in lockdown.
That's true.
Because
Yes.
of COVID. Like restaurant, nothing's open.
Right.
Auditionings productions can't even go up.
Yeah.
I mean, there's all kinds of laws about COVID protocol, on-set protocol.
Yeah.
Shoot, the Kevin Costner show, Yellowstone, that shoots in like Montana or something.
Yeah.
I think they're shooting, but they're in Montana. They're in this like really super low
Right.
COVID problem area.
Yeah.
But everything's kind of up in the air right now because this country hasn't got that under control yet. So no, I have nothing, firm.
Right.
Because nothing's really happening. As far as social media, I have a couple of things that are, if people are interested. I have a vegan cooking channel on YouTube that you can get to by going to videovegan.com. It's a vegan cooking show geared toward people that are not vegan. It's just if you want to like cut back on eating meat, or if your girlfriend's vegan, you don't know how to make dinner for her.
Right.
Or, my friend had a heart attack and now he's a medically induced vegan. There's lots of reasons to cut back on meat, and it's meant to have this the recipes all be familiar, like cheesecake and orange chicken and lasagna, that kind of stuff, but all vegan. And then I wrote a novel called Baby and the Single Girl. It's a dirty comedy novel. It looks like a chick book, but it's not. It's like it too. Okay. It's fiction. It's not erotica. It's not like 50 Shades of Grey. It's more like if Larry David told raunchy dating stories, like just about humiliation and embarrassment and bad choices. And that can be found on Amazon. It's called Bathing and the Single Girl. Okay. And if you go to Bathing Book, BATHING, bathingbook.com, there's a 10-minute short film that I made before I wrote the book. If you go to the film tab on the website, you can watch the 10-minute comedy that works really well as a trailer for the book. So you get the idea of the tone of the book. And if the short film appeals to you, know that the book is way funnier and way dirtier. I guess that's it. And on bathingbook.com, if you go to the contact page, my Instagram account, my Facebook account, my Twitter account, all that stuff is there. I have photography. I do photography as well. If you go to my pinup art, MyPinupArt, mypinupart.com. My photography is there for sale. You can buy things like, it's not just like framed prints, but you can get shirts or mugs or phone cases and whatever, the beach towels with a bunch of photos that I've taken.
Awesome.
And I think that covers
everything. I know that I will be checking out your YouTube channel for sure, because I am on a weight loss journey myself. I mean, I'm not that heavy. I was 213. I'm now 192.
Good for you.
Thank you.
Losing weight during COVID?
Yeah, that's where I gained it all at the start of it. Yeah, I literally lost all the weight that I gained in March. But I went to my parents' place one weekend, and I weighed myself on the scale, and I ended up seeing I was 213. I'm like, yeah, this isn't gonna fly. I'm 30 years old. I shouldn't be 213 pounds at this point. So I ended up making myself healthy meals and everything, and it really is costing me more money than the junk food did. But I would love to check out your healthier alternatives, 'cause I'm sure that'll help out even more on the weight loss. Because I've been just getting ground beef and chicken and turkey and all that stuff. But I'm sure with having those type of meals that you're teaching, it would be a lot better, because I basically look up recipes online. So this would be a way for me to actually cook along, and if you're cooking in the videos as well, that'll make it seem like, hey, I'm cooking with Christine.
It does. I am. And
awesome.
Just vegan doesn't mean healthy necessarily. There's unhealthy vegan stuff too. The vegan cheesecake is just as bad for you as regular cheesecake. Okay. So don't think that just because the word vegan's in front of it means it's healthier, it's low calorie. Right. There are lots of healthy things on there though, and they're certainly healthier than animal products just in general that are for your heart. Right. The only way to get cholesterol into your system is through animal products. It's the only thing that creates cholesterol. So if you have a cholesterol issue, plant-based diets address that completely. Awesome. So there's definitely healthy stuff on there too. I mean, there's 150 episodes. So there's a lot of options. Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna start looking into that, and if you don't mind, I can probably tag you on Facebook and all that with that, and show you, hey, look what I made. Please do. I would love to see. That'd be great. Thank you so much for your time. It's been an honor and a pleasure talking to you. I grew up watching you, and I absolutely loved you in the movie.
And when I seen you in Cult, I was like, first of all, when I was watching Cult, I'm like, I bet you they're gonna do something at the end of the credits, because I missed it on Alex Alex returning, and I seen it online and was kind of like, oh great, that was spoiled for me because I didn't wait till the end of the credits. So I went back and watched it, but I'm like, this time I'm not going online when this is released and everything. I'm gonna watch it right when it's released. I'm gonna wait till the end credits. I'm gonna see if there's a surprise this time. I'm not getting spoiled. I'm like, holy crap, is that Kyle?
I'm so glad, because I had to keep that secret for a year. It was a big deal, because once Alex did his cameo, everybody assumed that I was going to be the next one. And so I got asked on a daily basis if I was, and they had, my name wasn't in the credits on IMDb. Like, they really kept it a secret that I was in that.
That's awesome.
And I had to literally answer that question every day. Are you going to be in it? Are you going to be in it? I'm like, I don't know. Like, how do you not know? It's already finished. Did you shoot it or not? Like, well, I did, but we shot, alternate endings, so I don't know which one they're going to use. And I had to, make up all this bullshit to, to keep the secret. But
exactly.
It worked, and people were super happy about it, I'm happy to say.
It was like a year-long secret that had an amazing payoff at the end of the day. It was like, this was worth the year-long wait.
Thank you. I'm glad you feel that way. That was
I
the whole
do.
point.
I really do. I'm really grateful, and I don't know if you do conventions, but hopefully that'll be great. Maybe if you get a chance to come to Maryland or to Pennsylvania.
The way it works is we don't get to pick.
Okay.
So everyone thinks you can just come. If I could just go anywhere, I'd go to Texas Frightmare every single year.
Nice.
That's how it works. The promoter of the show has to invite you, and they curate these things.
Okay.
Based on a number of factors, like they have certain projects that they're highlighting, that might have a Friday the 13th reunion,
right,
or Halloween reunion,
right,
or Supernatural or Riverdale or whatever, and
right.
So and then they have random actors and mishmash of other people, but they have to invite you.
Wow.
You can make it known that you'd like to go, but they have to invite you, because they fly you in, they put you up,
right,
they give you the table, and then they have a finite amount of real estate to put people on,
Right.
And once you've done a show, they mostly let you come back to that show for a couple of years.
Oh wow! Well, if there's any horror convention promoters out there, we need to get Christine Elise at a lot of these conventions, specifically in Maryland and Pennsylvania, because I definitely want to meet you. But yeah, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I was nervous about it, because I'm like, oh my god, I'm talking to Christine Elise. How can you, how can I contain myself? I watched her as a grown up, and I've liked this with all of my interviews. I'm so nervous, and when I talk to you, I'm like, oh my god, that is her voice. And it's been an honor, a pleasure, and I am so grateful you made time to have this interview. I know we reached out a few months back, and with the pandemic, we wanted to wait a little bit, so I'm like, yeah, why not? And I kept my word. I messaged you back in, I think it was late July, and we set something up for today, and here it is.
Here it is.
Awesome.
Yeah, at the time earlier when people were dying by the thousands every day, it just felt frivolous, and I didn't feel didn't feel appropriate. So.
Right, and I actually started up the podcast again as the pandemic started back up. It was because I haven't done them for a year prior, literally to the day, because the last time I done them before March 2020 was March 2019. But I figured it would be a good way to get people to, bring some positivity, bring some entertainment, bring something that people can do and not worry about all this, all the sadness and the hate and everything going on in the world. And that's why I'm so glad I could have brought you on to be a part of this adventure. I'm so glad that we got to make this happen. And I will tag you and promote this once I get it up. I'll be putting it online later today. I'll be making a sneak peek for Facebook, and it'll be on iTunes, Spotify, and all that as well.
Great.
Awesome. Well, I thank you again, and you have a great rest of your night, and please stay safe.
You too.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.